Hi all, this is Once and Future Gamer and welcome to another Pokemon Challenge, the last of the year. Last time we had an interesting run through Pokemon Crystal as I sought to see if I could beat it with just a single Delibird. Today though, we head to Gen 5 and see if I can beat Pokemon Black with just a single Pikachu. Pikachu then, the mascot of the entire franchise. Unfortunately, it got a stat boost in Gen 6, so we don't quite get the benefit of that boost to our defensive stats. This is quite literally the worst version of Pikachu. Maybe Gen 1 Pikachu with no special split is worse, but potato. We've got a 300 base stat total, with nearly a third of that being speed, and just over another third being our attack stats, so we are pretty fragile in defence and HP, but we already knew that. We are mono-electric type, so weak to ground, no immunities, and we resist flying, steel and electric. Our level up move set is pretty indifferent. We do get Thunderbolt, but that's about the best of it. It's mainly electric moves. Probably the best damaging non-electric move we get is Quick Attack, which, while nice, is probably not going to be a game-changing move. Via TM though, yeah, we still don't get much. Well actually, more than you think. I have no idea how to get the hidden power TM in this game, I think it's post-game. Dig, Brick Break and Grass Snot are about the highlight of the coverage moves we get. Grass Snot could be useful for sure, but we shall see. There's also Return, I looked. TM10 hidden power is in the first town after seeing 115 Pokemon, so that is something to keep in mind. Thanks for watching folks, the rules are on the screen throughout, and if you do enjoy what you see then like, subscribe and ring that bell. Let's get this on. Okay then, so I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Oshawott with Pikachu, so that I can do the whole run with it. I chose to replace Oshawott so that neither of my rivals will have it, and thus it gives us a harder set of fights, as we aren't super effective against their starter. We do the whole thing where we open up the box and we have to watch the banter between Bianca and Sharon, before we get the chance to pick up a Pikachu. We then have our rival fights. The first one is versus Bianca and her Tepig, and this is a tale of two crits. We crit our Thundershock and paralyse the Tepig, before we then get crit by a tackle, and that really hurts. But another Thundershock brings the Tepig crashing down for an immediate victory. I have a feeling though that Sharon isn't going to be so easy. And when it comes to the fight amidst the trash that used to be our bedroom, I am turned out to be pretty right, as we don't do much damage to Snivy with our attacks. The grass type does get paralysed early on by our static ability, but never gets fully paralysed in about 7 turns of the fight, which pretty standard by my experience of hitting opponents with status abilities. No doubt if we'd been paralysed we wouldn't have been able to move 7 turns in a row. Anyway, we lose. I thought we might get away with it when Snivy started using Leah while we were on 4 HP, but no dice and we got beat. I nicknamed my female Pikachu Shockwell. Why not? And then I see what we're working with nature-wise. As already said, we have the static ability. We also have the modest nature, so more special attack and less physical attack. That's not entirely bad. Our Thunderbolts are going to hit harder, but losing regular attack is a bit worrying, especially given some of our coverage moves are physical rather than special. Anyway, I move on towards the next town. I'm going to train up a bit ahead of what's next, and well, while I am here, shall we begin the recap of the year? I mean, 2024 is nearly over, so what happened? Let's have a look at January. Sometimes it's good to look back and work out exactly how far we've come. Wow, in January I was uploading Indigo Disc still. Spooky, I can't believe that was a year ago. There was the 2 published episodes of the Bayonetta playthrough. Just didn't grab me too much that game, that's the reason why. It got a bit samey. There was Resident Evil 5, we started uploading a playthrough of that. We had Pokemon Master Showdown with Buck vs Avery, Kabu vs Aaron and Brendan vs Cyrus. Challenges for that month were Crystal with a single Dratini and Fire Red with a single Azurill. There was also TCG stuff as well. Eventually, we arrive in Accumula Town and we get to listen to Getsis do his whole speech about how the way people treat Pokemon is bad and all that sort of stuff. How the fact that we're making these creatures battle each other to their death, or not quite, but you know, is nothing short of wrong. And then we have to fight N and his Purloin shortly afterwards. I'm not saying to the death, but preferably his. Anyway, Purloin is still something I want to do a run with at some point. The opponent isn't a problem though. We soon free hit that with Thundershock. We take it down to give us a win, and we don't really get too badly hurt in the exchange. Moving on to the next route, we have a rival fight with Bianca, and we've been training up, so I'm not too worried, I'll say that. She does start with her Lillipup, something else that I want to do a run with at some point, but we can fire some Thundershocks at it, and it doesn't really have much of a chance to stand up. We do take a tackle, but it's not a problem. Tepig is a bit more of an obstacle. We do get hit with a tail whip and an ember, but that aside, we can just keep on pouring on the electricity, and soon we bring it down, despite her trying to save it with a potion, which only delays the inevitable. So, I've been training up because I know there's a gym fight ahead, and also there's going to be a rival fight too, so we need to be ready. That rival fight is with Sharon, and we head into the trainer school to fight with him. He begins with Snivy. We go for a tail whip while we get hit with tackle. Thankfully, it gets paralysed with static. We go for another tail whip, and then we start to spam quick attack until it drops, despite it trying to save itself with a berry. We lose some health, but never a problem. Purloin is a 2-shot with Thundershock, only hitting Growl in exchange. Not too much of a problem. The gym battle then, and we are facing off with Silent, and it proves to be hugely problematic at level 14, as Lillipup is too much for us to get out unscathed. We take a lot of damage, and our Thundershock doesn't quite do enough damage to be truly effective. Pansage can come out and finish us off while we are weak, so that's problematic. It resists our Thundershock, so if we want to damage it, we need to use Quick Attack, which, again, not the best move for this circumstance, so I decide to head off and train. In February, we had the Pokemon Violet epilogue, we had more Resident Evil 5, there was Wulfric vs Archie in Pokemon Master Showdown. We also had Agatha vs Kieran, Milo vs Miriam, and Carmine vs Chairman Rose. Challenges were Pokemon Yellow with a single Poliwag, the most recent Gen 1 challenge that I did, and Heart Gold with Oddish and Bellsprout. Probably the most recent Heart Gold challenge I did, apart from the Heart Gold with Ground type playthrough I did a few weeks back, but I'm going to get onto that in a bit. Anyway, I come back at level 18 and I'm hopeful that this is going to make a difference. Something has to give eventually. I turned down learning Electro Ball because of low PP and no fixed damage. Once again, Silent begins with Lillipup, and this time we crit a Thundershock to drop it in one hit. That is nice because it gives us more health to work with versus Pansage. We tail whip it while Pansage goes to work up. Then we hit Quick Attack for just under half its health before Pansage Vine Whips us and gets paralysed by static. Another Quick Attack then gets a high damage roll and we drop it for a knockout and badge number 1. As I go through the Dream Yard, let's continue reminiscing about the year then. In March it was mainly Master Showdown with Clavel vs Noland, Hop vs Cheron, Flannery vs Nemona, Hop vs Nemona, and Rika vs Luzamine. The challengers were Pokemon Emerald with a single Paras, and Fire Red with a single Wingull, and I forgot just how much fun it is to say those two words together. Now, there weren't any Let's Plays being uploaded at that point, and several months later, I don't really remember why. I guess I might have been going through a creative lull, or at least I wasn't recording stuff and uploading it for some reason. Again, no idea why. It's not long before we have another rival battle, and Cheron sticks his head up to challenge us this time. I'm pretty ready for him though. Versus Snivy, we go for a few tail whips, while his starter goes for a few Leers and then Growth. After one Quick Attack, Snivy eats a berry before doing massive damage with Vine Whip, but a few more Quick Attacks soon bring it down. That was unnerving. There's still Purloin left though. It survives Thundershock, then hits Sand Attack. We then miss Thundershock, but Purloin misses a Fury Swipes that could well have ended us before we take it out with another Thundershock. Wow, that was almost distressing. In Nacrene City, there's an end fight. I'm not even going to try the gym until we get Thunderbolt, so this is handy experience towards that goal, but we are a long way off yet. Pedo is first and we drop it with Thundershock. He then makes the brave decision to go for Timpole and we drop it with Thundershock. Something else I think I want to use in a challenge at some point. Timber is last but only goes to Bide and we can take it out with 2 Thundershocks before it becomes a problem. But obviously if it survived that second Thundershock it might have been interesting. Timber, also something I'm interested in using at some point. At level 29 with Thunderbolt in hand I begin to challenge Lenora. And although the first effort goes badly, we get more fortune at the second attempt. Last challenge I said about Morty in Johto how it feels like luck is sometimes really important to winning. I do feel the same about Lenora sometimes. We one-shot Herdia with Thunderbolt before Watchog is second. It survives Thunderbolt on red health and misses Hypnosis. Lenora does heal but another Thunderbolt followed up by a quick attack bring it down. Hypnosis missing is always quite important in this battle. But I did have a Chesto Berry just in case. Whenever she doesn't go for Retaliate with Watchog on the first turn, that is always very useful when it comes to victory as well. Just saying. In April, there was more of the same. There were 4 matches in Master Showdown with Dirac versus Lorelei, Marley versus Crashaway, Iris versus Colress, and Claire versus Whitney. In terms of challenges, there was a Crystal challenge as I sought to see if I could beat it with just HM moves, and also one of my favourite challenges of the year as I did an Ultra Sun challenge and set out to see if I could beat it with a single Growlithe. Not at all fun in places, especially that Ultra Necrozma fight, but definitely something I feel proud of. I'm hopefully looking to do something else in this game going forward into 2025. I did have a challenge request for Ultra Sun, so that will be some point in 2025, just saying. I'm into Castelia City now and we have a bug gym upcoming. Unfortunately, Berg's Ace is also part grass type, which isn't entirely ideal, so we will struggle there, but the rest of his team shouldn't be an issue. This gym leader does take a few efforts because of Levani. On the winning run, Whirlipede goes down to Thunderbolt and then we face off with Dwebble. We also take that out with Thunderbolt. Those two are not a problem. Levani is though. We do crit a Thunderbolt for about 2/3 of its health before getting hit with String Shot. It then survives another Thunderbolt on a fraction and gets us for nearly half our health with Razor Leaf. Berg heals and that gives us the chance to land 2 more Thunderbolts before once again we get hit with String Shot. Now we're slower, a Razor Leaf puts us on 3 HP, but we can strike another Thunderbolt to bring Levani down to give us the win and the 3rd badge. As we try to leave town, there's another rival fight, this time with Bianca, and so we go to face off with her in the way station, or whatever that little building with the scoreboard is called. She begins with a Herdia and we are intimidated, but we drop it with Thunderbolt. Muna goes down to Thunderbolt too, and so in the 3rd round does Pignite. Pansage survives Thunderbolt but barely and hits Vine Whip before Bianca drops a Super Potion, but a combination of Quick Attack and Thunderbolt soon bring the Grass Monkey down to give us a win over her. It doesn't let up because there is a fight with Cheron immediately afterwards, and this one is always potentially dangerous as we are fighting in a sandstorm, so there's going to be lots of chip damage over the course of the battle. I know I've lost these fights with him before by running out of turns, and we lose the first one here, just saying. Second attempt, we down Pidove with Thunderbolt before we then face off with Servine and we crit our Thunderbolt to bring it down. Pamper goes down to Thunderbolt before we take Lipard out in the same way. This effort made it look easy, but that crit on Servine helped a lot because Servine was a massive issue in the first effort. In May, there was some TCG stuff, but May is where things did slowly start a bit of a descent for me in my own private way. There were challenges in Pokémon Black and Pokémon Emerald. I took on Black with Patrat and Emerald with Sunkern and Seedot. That was an experience. We had Master Showdown with Nanu versus Marlon, Bead versus Blue, Byron versus Elio, and Candice versus Gladion. At the end of May, my girlfriend cheated on me and the relationship came to an end, which started me lurking in a pretty dark place. I put on a brave face about it. I should have seen it coming. It wasn't the first time she broke up with me. See some of the 2023 videos for comment. If I wanted to be uber critical about it, I should have known better, but the heart wants what it wants. And I wanted to believe that this time will be different. Even to this day, in November, when I'm writing this, and I'm recording this in December, there's not a part of me that doesn't miss her. Now, since it did come to an end, I have heard some stuff about her that is quite unsavoury. I mean, I don't really know what to believe anymore. She's out of my life, that's the end of it. Just move on, fresh slates, strike it clean. At the time of writing, I had just been on a first date with somebody, so we'll see how that one plays out. We have the end fight in front of the Ferris wheel before long, and he's made his revelations about being the king of Team Plasma, and so we're going to have to battle him. He begins with Sandile, and we can't thunderbolt it, so we hit a return to bring it down. Darumaka goes down to a thunderbolt, and so does Scraggy in the next round. Sigilif at the end can be tricky, but not when we can just simply zap it out of the sky. Shortly after that then, we have got to go through the funhouse and face off with the next gym leader, Eliza, for the 4th badge. And really, I'm not feeling too worried about this. I feel like we are in with a better than decent chance. She begins with Emolga number 1 and we immediately down it with Thunderbolt. Zeb Striker is second and we go for Dig before nailing it with the attack, and that gives us a knockout. The second Emolga doesn't do any better than the first and we take it out in the same way to give us victory. It's nice when this fight is simple. There is a Cheran fight outside of town and thus we have to have our next face off with him, but this could go either way. We had some problems in the last fight with him, so fingers crossed. He begins with Lipard and we immediately get hit with Fake Out before, on the next turn, we shock it down with Thunderbolt. Pampor is second and that also goes down to Thunderbolt. I'm not entirely sure what he was trying to do there. Servine is third. This time we go for return and we crit the move to bring it down in a single hit, which, nice for sure. Last is Tranquil. We get struck with Quick Attack but land a Thunderbolt to bring it down and give us the win. In June there were some Let's Plays as I started uploading playthroughs of Batman, Arkham Asylum and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Chaos Bleeds, as well as some more TCG stuff. In Master Showdown there was Dahlia vs Hop, Marshall vs Mustard, Agatha vs Greta, Wulfric vs Maxi. I got my ass absolutely handed to me in that one, and N vs Fantina. In Challengers there was Leaf Green with Misty's anime team and moves. I have some quite fond memories about that challenge, it was a fun one to do. Crystal with Vulpix and White 2 with a single Chikorita, which was absolutely awful to do. Maybe in the light of heartbreak I decided to throw myself into it more, and ultimately it ended badly. I tried to do too much and well, we'll talk about it when we get to August and September. When we get to Driftvale we have the ground gym, and this doesn't fill me with confidence because our best move is not just going to be resisted, but they are all immune to Thunderbolts, which is pretty not good at all. We have a few efforts versus Clay and they all end pretty similarly. We lose several times to Excadrill. If we are lucky, if we get high damage rolls, we make it through Crocoroke and Palpitoad unscathed, but the Excadrill is just a bit too much as it survives Dig and ends us with a single Bulldoze, repeatedly. So I decide to bow out gracefully and gain some more levels to help us brute force him. I come back at level 50. This may seem a bit like overkill, but I hope it's just going to be enough kill. Pikachu also has the soft sand on to boost the power of our Dig. When we face off with Crocoroke, we knock it out with return, and we do the same straight after to Palpitoad. These weren't always one-hit knockouts in earlier efforts, so I'm pleased. Then we knock Excadrill out with Dig to give us the badge. Perfectly executed. There is a Bianca fight when we leave town. Feels like a while since we've had one, so that's a change of pace. She begins with Herdia and we are intimidated, but we drop it with Thunderbolt. Pignite also gets one hit with Thunderbolt, and we actually do the same to Pansage out third. Moshana though survives Thunderbolt and hits Psybeam before Bianca starts spamming Hyper Potions. 2 of them to be precise, which is annoying, but we keep on zapping it, and eventually the Moshana goes crashing down. Sweet dreams, I guess. While I'm going through Chargestone Cave, it's time for the trivia section. Pikachu trivia. Yeah, I don't think Pikachu ever did anything for the franchise. It's pretty unrecognisable by everybody, pretty unremarkable, nobody knows who it is. Just kidding. It and Raichu share their category with the Raticate line, the Sandshrew line, and Pawmi and Pawmo as the mouse Pokemon. Pikachu is the only starter Pokemon in the core series that has a pre-evolved form. However, Pichu is unavailable in both games where Pikachu can be gotten as a starter. Pikachu has the most event-exclusive moves available to it, and it is the only Pokemon with 2 exclusive Z moves. From Gen 6 to BDSP and Pokemon Yellow, Pikachu uses its animated series cry. The Pokemon Yellow Pikachu has unique voice clips in Stadium and Stadium 2. It is the only core series starter Pokemon that doesn't have a 7:1 gender ratio. The Gen 5 games are the only core series games where Pikachu cannot be obtained without transporting in or through an event, or the Universal Pokemon Randomizer, as this game proved that I'm running now. I think that's part of the reason why I did want to do this gen with Pikachu, because you can't find it anywhere. It is the only not fully evolved Pokemon whose base stat total increased in Gen 6, and the only Pokemon to receive more than 1 stat increase. Pikachu has the most unique cards in the TCG with 213. Near the end of 2023, Google revealed that Pikachu was the most searched Pokemon in the platform's history over their 25 years of existence. Its Gigantamax form is based on its more rotund design from Gens 1 and 2. The name is a combination of Pika Pika, onomatopoeia for sparkle, and Choo Choo, the sound of a mouse squeaking. Some of the Pokédex entries mention how it uses electricity to tenderise hard berries. There is an end fight at the end of the cave. This one may be rough for a variety of reasons. He begins with Boldor, who always has the annoying sturdy ability and survives our Thunderbolt before going for Iron Defense, but we finish it with Return. Joltik goes down to a Return and Ferroseed is out third. It survives Thunderbolt but gets paralysed and misses Metal Claw before we take it down with another Thunderbolt. Clink at the end is also dropped by Thunderbolt, and that gives us the victory. The next major fight is the Flying Gym. I'll repeat that, just in case you're wondering about how easy or difficult you think the next gym might be. I'm not anticipating a whole lot of trouble in this battle. I might be being optimistic, but it's not like she has anything that even takes neutral damage from electricity, never mind resists it. Swoobat is out first and gets zapped with Thunderbolt. Unpheasant does hit Quick Attack, but we take it down with Thunderbolt, and Swanna doesn't survive an electric type attack either. 6 badges down. There is a Cheron fight then before we enter Twist Mountain, and although we do lose the first attempt, it is my fault for picking the wrong move. The second attempt goes a lot better though. He begins with Unpheasant, who should be an easy win on paper, and we duly drop it with Thunderbolt. Servine survives Return and hits Leech Seed, but we take it out with a second Return. Simipour goes down to Thunderbolt, and at the end we do get hit with Fake Out from Lipard, but we drop a Thunderbolt on it to end it. On the original effort, I misclicked and hit Return on Simipour, and we duly got burned from Scald, and we didn't have enough health left to survive Fake Out. In July, there was more Buffy and more Arkham Asylum, as well as Master Showdown. We had Olivia vs Poppy, Kieran vs Blue, Kofu vs Iono, and Tate and Liza vs Marshall. In Challengers, we had Alpha Sapphire with a single Finneon. There was also Pokemon Platinum with a single Shuppet. The Gen 6 Hoenn games are fun to run challenges in. I've done 2 of them to date. Would like to do more of them going forward, Mind you, I think the current rate is about 1 a year, and maybe that's enough. Again, as always guys, any ideas? The next major fight then is the ice gym, and again, this probably shouldn't be too much of an issue. I don't think his team is intended to be too bulky, but I'll have to watch out though. Cryogonal has pretty good special defence, and Beartic could hit us decently hard. We don't have any super effective moves, but oh well. I feel like electric should always be super effective on both ice and steel, what with ice being frozen water and metal not coming off better when a fork goes into a plug socket. Anyway, he begins with Vanillite and we drop it with Thunderbolt. Beartic survives Thunderbolt and does over half our health in damage with Icicle Crash before we take it out with another Thunderbolt. Cryogonal survives Thunderbolt and blasts us with Aurora Beam before we take it down with Return. 7 badges down then. Into Dragon Spiral Tower then, and August and September came around then, and this is where putting a brave face on things finally came to a head, as I carried on uploading stuff I had already recorded, but I wasn't making any new content. I just felt so badly burnt out on top of life and all that sort of stuff. The last of the Master Showdown videos went up with Gary vs Brawley and Flint vs Getsis, and nothing really has been released since in that series. Other than that though, it was more of the same, with Arkham Asylum, Buffy, some TCG stuff, and then Resident Evil 6. I did start dating someone else at the back end of September, but it went on for about 6 weeks before coming to a natural end. That, as she put up, a huge red flag that I did pretty well to spot. Maybe I am learning. After all the Relic Castle stuff, we have a rival fight with Bianca before we can get to the next gym. I always have unpleasant memories of this fight from previous Black runs. Notoriously, the Black with Swinub run. Still have nightmares about that one. She begins with Stoutland and we're intimidated. We zap it with Thunderbolt and one-shot it from full health. Then it's Embo and we pull the same trick, dropping it with Thunderbolt. Simisage survives Thunderbolt and hits Seed Bomb before I go for Return. Bianca does drop some full restores to try and keep the Grass Monkey alive, but it's all in vain. We just keep striking and down it goes. Mashana is last. We strike Thunderbolt, but it survives and uses Hypnosis. We only stay asleep for 1 turn though and take it down with Thunderbolt when we wake up, only getting hit with Psybeam. October rolled around and I continued to upload Resident Evil 6. And well, there was a return to Pokemon challenges as I uploaded Pokemon Crystal with a single Hoppip and Pokemon Emerald with only HM moves. I also uploaded something that I'd wanted to do for a while as I set out my first team playthrough one-shot video as I took on Pokemon Fire Red with a team of normal types. There was also more TCG stuff. It's time for the Dragon Gym then. This could be interesting since they resist our stab, but I suppose I should be glad that he doesn't have Flygon in this generation. That would make things pretty hard. We lose the first attempt, but the second one plays out like this. We face Fracture first and we strike out with Return and drop it in 1 hit. Druddigon is second and we strike Thunderbolt to avoid taking rough skin damage before we then get clattered with a Night Slash. The static kicks in and Druddigon does get paralysed though. We then hit Return to bring it down, though we do take rough skin damage. Haxorus is last. We do massive damage with Return while it goes for Dragon Dance. Then there are a few turns of Drayden spamming Hyper Potions while we keep hitting Returns in a desperate attempt to stay alive, but it's to no avail and we soon bring it down for the win and the last badge. There is the final Cherub fight ahead as we move towards the Pokemon League. He wants to make sure we're up to snuff for the fight ahead. He begins with Unpheasant. We would blast it down with Thunderbolt did it not screw around with Detect, but it's not a problem as on the second turn we wreck it with an Electric Blast. Serperior is second. We hit Return for about 2/3 of its health, then get countered with Leaf Blade, but it doesn't do too much damage, which is a relief before we take it out with Return. Simipour is third. We zap it with Thunderbolt to take it out, and last is Lipard. We strike a Thunderbolt to take it down and we get a nice little win. And N aside, we are done with rival fights for the game. Into November then, and it was still more Resident Evil 6. The challengers were Fire Red with Rattata and Y with Clefairy, as well as more TCG stuff. This really was a scant year. I think it's the year that I decided to take it easier in large parts. I mean, there's a massive stack of stuff that I've started and not finished. I don't know. Maybe I need to reevaluate how I do things on the channel going forward. Towards the back end of the month, there was also the Heart Gold with Ground Types playthrough, which actually premiered the night before I wrote this. I'm recording this on the 16th of December, so recording it quite a bit of time after that premiered. So I need a bit of a crystal ball to predict what would happen in December, since I wrote this on the 24th of November. Into Victory Road then, and let's look at what's ahead. I am a little concerned about the Elite Four for sure. So, I don't think Chantal will be too much of an issue. We should be able to overcome her with little issue. I'm more worried about being hit on the counter-attack than dealing damage, as she has Golurk and also Chandelier might be an issue. Grimsley has Crocodile with Intimidate and Earthquake, I'm pretty sure, so that may be an issue. Marshall has bulky fighting types, and with the state of our physical defence, I'd be worried about that. For Caitlin, I would be concerned about dealing damage, since her team is a bit defensive, as I remember, and I don't think we'll be one-shotting everything, except maybe Sigilith. Enon gets this. Probably will be rough, I'm not going to lie. I did also check YouTube to see if this challenge has been done before. I've seen a few videos where some took on Pokémon Black as Ash Ketchum, but I only found one instance of base black and white being challenged with a single Pikachu, and that was from a YouTuber named Wolfie Gaming, who also took on Black 2 with the same challenge. At the Pokemon League then, let's take a look at our stats at level 74. I mean, speed is excellent, but we could have predicted that. Considering we have a reducing nature, our physical attack is way better than our special attack. I guess this is what happens when there's only physical attack EV stuff to grind on at the start of the game. Look at that defence though. Oh dear. And our special defence isn't really that much better. I'm always worried when we're about to challenge the Elite Four and some of our stats are in double figures. Unless it's the attack stat I'm not using. Take your guesses on if we can do it at this level or not. Right now folks, let's get this on. As I said priorly, I do think Chantal will be the easiest, so I took on her first. I gave Shockwell the magnet just to make sure that our Thunderbolt hits harder. I want to be sure. Cofagrigus survives Thunderbolt, and then we get hit with Will-O-Wisp, which is not an issue, damage aside. We are not going to be using our physical attacks. The second Thunderbolt takes it out. Golurk goes down to Grass Knot, which is nice because Earthquake would probably have killed us otherwise. We then face Chandelier and it survives Thunderbolt but misses Fire Blast, and we duly take it out with a second Thunderbolt. Jellicent at the end definitely doesn't survive Thunderbolt and we can move ourselves on. I decide to go and make some tries on Caitlin next, but it goes badly as we very quickly get out damaged. I tried a few combinations, I tried different items and moves, but although we can take Reuniclus and Sigilith out, Mushana after them is just a bit too much for us to take on, and so after a few efforts I decide to head off and grind. This part of Victory Road is a good grinding spot because there is a doctor nearby and it saves running back to the Pokemon Centre. If it was just wall-to-wall Durants, I'd be happy. Boldors make it harder though. I hate Sturdy as an ability, just saying. Anyway, let's talk about December. At the time of writing this, on the 2nd of December, I was just uploading the final 2 episodes of Resident Evil 6 and I'd made some executive decisions regarding the channel. The Pokemon playthroughs I'd started, but probably weren't going to continue, weren't going to see the light of day for the time being. Same for the Star Wars Outlaws playthrough I'd planned to do. Just not happy with what I recorded, and probably the same for the Tormented Souls playthrough I'd planned. I was doing a playthrough of 2 GameCube games, both Simpsons Hit and Run, not a GameCube exclusive, I know, but also Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, which, at the time of you seeing this, there will already be some episodes up. If you're not familiar with this game, I urge you to check it out because this game is absolutely fantastic. It is a lost classic. I did discuss restarting Pokemon Master Showdown with the guy I do it with, and I have plotted out the next 6 months of challenges. As always, any ideas, shout out to me. Comment section, Twitter, Discord. Those latter two I really should start using more. I haven't tweeted for what feels like years now. I don't think I've tweeted since it was actually called Twitter. I'll tell you what the next challenge is in the outro. One thing that did happen while I was training up, I did go and get the Hidden Power TM just to see what sort of type it might be. And of course, there is always an element of trial and error with this, testing it out on wild Pokemon. But there's also the means of narrowing it down. I think there is an NPC somewhere who does tell you what type it is, but I can never remember where they are in each game. Well, I know where it is in Gen 4 Sinnoh, but I'm not sure about the other ones. First Pokemon we tested it out on is a Woobat, and it's resisted. So we immediately discover that our hidden power type is Fighting, Grass, or Psychic. And the next Pokemon is a Durant, so meaning that is resisted again. So that rules Fighting out, since that would be neutral. Later, we face a Boldore, and the move is super effective, so it is Grass type. That doesn't entirely help us, since we have Grass Knot already as a TM. Anyway, I come back into fight at level 88, and I decide to go after Grimsley this time, since I figure he might be reasonably hard, and I want to get him out of the way. We do lose the first attempt thanks to Sand Attack, but on the second one, we hit Scrafty with Thunderbolt and paralyse it. We get hit with Crunch in exchange, and the Pokemon gets healed. Scraggy, something else I want to use in a challenge at some point. There's a lot of Gen 5 stuff, I know. We take it out with 2 returns. Crocodile is second, and we are intimidated, but we drop it with Grass Knot before facing Bisharp, and we take it out with a single Thunderbolt. Before, right at the end, we drop Lipard with a Thunderbolt, and that gives us a win. Okay, that was easier than expected. I go after Caitlyn next, and I'm confident that it will go better this time than my previous efforts did. Again, it takes a few attempts, but on the winning run, it plays out like this. Versus Reuniclus, we hit return for most of its health, and then get hit with Psychic. She heals, and we hit Grass Knot before it survives return, and hits another Psychic to drop us on red health. She heals again, we Grass Knot and return again. I'm not sure what I was thinking, since it didn't work entirely well the first time, but we crit return to take it out. Sigilyph goes down to a Thunderbolt before Musharna comes in, and return does about 2/3 of its health. We tank a Psychic before return takes it out. Gothitelle is last, it survives return and hits Shadow Ball, but we survive on 9 HP and take it down with another return, and that is 3 down. Marshall then, and this could be problematic. I wonder how many efforts it will actually take for me to do this. At least we should outspeed everything for now. Bulldoze might be an issue. He begins with Throw, and we hit Thunderbolt before being struck with Bulldoze. It didn't hurt that much though. Marshall heals, we go for Grass Knot and Thunderbolt to take it out. Sork survives Grass Knot and hits Stone Edge, but we survive and hit another Grass Knot to take it out. Conkeldurr goes down to Thunderbolt, and right at the very end, so does Mienshao. Okay, I didn't think it would go that smoothly for sure. We have the end fight ahead, and the first one we lose, but the first one is never entirely a representative one due to having to use the box art legendary in the fight. It defeats the purpose of a single Pokemon run. Anyway, second attempt looks like this. We don't have return for the fight, I don't think we'll need it. We go Thordig versus Zekrom and avoid Fusion Bolt, doing 3/4 of its health before we hit Dig again to avoid the Giga Impact. Zekrom did put Light Screen up, so versus Klinklang we go for another Dig. It survives the move on red health and hits Metal Sound, which may be an issue. Light Screen wears off, N heals, and we strike a Thunderbolt, which one-shots. Vanillux is next. It survives Thunderbolt on red health and goes to Hail before we take it out with Grass Knot. Zoroark goes down to a single Thunderbolt before Caracosta is next. It survives Grass Knot on red health and hits Stone Edge, but the Hail takes it out, which is a result. And finally, Archeops goes down to a Thunderbolt, and that gives us a victory. That was simple. We lose a few fights versus Getsis, since at first we are not really set up for fighting him. I need return back for this fight, since we don't have a good way of hurting Hydreigon otherwise, and getting hit with Toxic is problematic. Eventually, we go in equipped with a Peachy Berry, and Cofagrigus starts with Protect, which lets us get 2 double teams up before it ever goes for Toxic, and it misses. Since I figure I have a free hit with the berry to nullify poison, I go for 6 double teams and Toxic never connects, which is good in one sense, but it means we're carrying a useless item now. Oh well, swings and roundabouts. Cofagrigus survives Thunderbolt, Getsis heals it, but we can eventually take it down despite him trying to stall with Protect. So, 5 to go, and I'd say we are in a pretty reasonable position here to face the rest of the team. Bouffalont is second. We hit Thunderbolt, it survives and misses Head Charge before we take it out with another Thunderbolt. Seismitoad goes down to a single Grass Snot, and then we face Hydreigon. Return does over half its health in damage, and it manages to connect with Dragon Pulse, but the damage isn't too bad, it does maybe a third of our health. We take it out with another return. Bisharp is 5th. It survives Thunderbolt and misses Night Slash, but we take it out with another Thunderbolt. Electros survives being hit with return and connects with a Crunch that puts us in red health, but we strike another return to take it down and give us the win. Woo! Okay then, so that's the run. Not a bad way to round out 2024. I always feel with Gen 5 like there is a danger that it does quickly devolve into horrible bouts of level grinding. Anyway, hope that you enjoyed for sure. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, call out with a comment and smash that subscribe button. Thanks for watching folks. Join me again next time for another Pokemon challenge as we return to Gen 1 and we see if I can beat Pokemon Yellow with a single Zubat. It's been too long since I hit Gen 1. Looking back at what transpired challenge-wise in 2024, I think the 2 hardest challenges were both Platinum ones. Definitely the Cherubi one a few weeks back, and the Shuppet one wasn't particularly fun either. White 2 with Chikorita wasn't particularly pleasant, mainly the Chantal fight for sure. So I would say that as an honourable 3rd. I can't remember how the Fire Red with Azurill one went, so I can't comment on that. I did look at the script and I wrote at the time how that challenge wasn't as bad as I thought it might be, so strike that one from the record. Oh well. Mind you, as much as I enjoyed it, the Ultra Sun with Growlithe challenge wasn't particularly easy, if I'm honest. Ultra Necrozma was a bit of an obstacle for sure. Anyway, enough reminiscing. Thanks for joining me folks this year. Just before we do go, I do want to say thanks to everyone who watched, but especially to those frequent commenters. Dirty Den, Pokemon Master Dracana, Jason Cabinet, JWJ, Micah French. Went back through the comments for the year and these were definitely the most consistent. So, thanks folks. But again, thanks to everybody. It's time for me to leave now folks. I'll be back at some point in the new year. Take care folks. Happy New Year. Bye bye.